Good morning, folks. Good morning to all, and welcome to the 2023 IRTA Area 1 Virtual Conference. This is the first of 6 virtual area conferences that will be hosted by each of the 6 areas the IRTA state organizations divided into. The dates of the rest of the conferences are spread out throughout the spring and summer, with the Area 6 conference being the last one. It's going to be held sometime in September. May be interested in sitting in on one of the other conferences later on. There might be some new information. Of course, everyone's reminded that any IRTA member can register and attend any of the 6 virtual conferences. If you're a member of an Area 1 local unit, you probably not expect to see me opening the meeting. Joanne Nelson, our Area 1 rep, asked me to fill in for her due to another important commitment she has this morning. So I'm Dave Davison. I'm a past president of IRTA back in 2016-17, and presently I'm the Region 1 director located here in Area 1. I'm speaking to you from, as you can see if you look in the background, a bedroom that I use as an office in our little villa in the villages of Florida, where Betty and I spend, my wife and I spend the winter. Being able to speak to you from Florida is an advantage of a virtual conference that we wouldn't have, of course, if this was a live conference. I spoke of Joanne Nelson as our Area 1 rep. In that capacity, she represents a large geographic area which encompasses all of the northwestern part of the state of Illinois. We have large cities in our area, and we have a lot of smaller cities in our area. We go from Galena over the extreme northwest corner of the state, over to Belvidere, down to Pontiac. And so we cover a large area. Of course, Area 1 is divided into 3 regions, as is each of the other 5 areas of the state. Our regions are 1, 7, and 8. Richard Wilkins is Region 7 director, and Joe Vermeyer is the Region 8 director. The local units in Area 1 need to be recognized for all the work that they do for their units, which in turn is a big help to IRTA. So I just want to mention people's names quickly. I'd have you stand if I knew how to do that, but I don't. At any rate, Mike Highland is here in Region 1, is the unit president for Carroll County. Mary Stainer is the president in Joe Davies County. That's the one where Galena is. Kim McKenna is the president in Oglala. There's the 2 counties that are combined. Julie Wenzel is president in Stevenson County. Gail Shedd is our president in Winnebago County, and Kathleen Prentieville is president of the Boone County unit. In Region 7, where Richard Wilkins is the regional director. Grundy County's president is Carol Anderson. LaSalle County's president is Jackie LaPenza. Bureau County's president is Amber Harper. Livingston County's president is Robert Walter. And Marshall Putnam County's combined is Katie Grumbind. I hope I'm not messing up on some of those names, but I'm going to do this just the best that I can. Region 8, the director, Joe Vermeyer, has Whiteside as a county where Peggy Ann Mosier is the president, and the Blackhawk unit, which is really Quad Cities, dominated by the Quad Cities. Joe is the president. Henry Stark are combined counties for a unit, and the president is Sue Kalia. Mercer County, Barb Chills, and Knox County, where Galesburg is, it's in Area 1, and that's Gala Morrow. These people deserve our praise and appreciation. I'd ask for a round of applause if I knew how to do that, but I don't on this virtual conference. Before we start our meeting, I want to recognize Jim Bachman, our executive director of central office staff, that's worked on making this conference happen. There's Susan Getz, the administrative assistant, Courtney Hayes, legislative affairs coordinator, Tricia Klein, member services coordinator, Nathan Mihalik, director of membership and marketing, Erica Pinkley, a comptroller, and Stephanie Tucker, our receptionist. And You know, these people just do a heck of a job for us. And I, as a president, always tried to make sure they were recognized. And I still think they do a heck of a job. And I know that it's greatly appreciated by all of us. It's my understanding we have around 300 registrants for this conference. And I'm sure we have several registrants today that are not members of Area 1 local units. And of course, we welcome you all. My guess is that the large number of registrants is at least partly due to the agenda for the day, and in particular, the part of the agenda explaining the constitutional amendments that have been proposed by the Constitution Committee and endorsed for approval by the IRTA Executive Committee. Before hearing about these amendments, though, we get to hear some other important and interesting reports. We're going to hear from our IRTA President, Bill Funkhauser, our Executive Director, Jim Bachman, and his legislative team. We're going to get a report on the IRTA PAC made by Sharon Teefee, the IRTA PAC Committee Chair. We're going to get a TRS update from Doug Strand, our TRS trustee on the TRS Board of Directors. And I say our TRS trustee, not only because we endorsed and helped Doug get elected, but also because I read his reports. It's obvious that he feels like one of us, and Doug, of course, is a member of the IRTA. Bob Kaplan is going to update us with the nomination committee report. And then just before we hear from Roger Hampton on the proposed constitutional amendments, we're going to have a report from Larry Newman, the AMBA Regional Vice President. Larry's going to update us on our IRTA member benefits, many of which are provided by the Association Member Benefits Advisor, which we commonly refer to as AMBA. Before we start our agenda, there's a few announcements that Nathan asked me to make. Nathan's the tech guy involved in making this virtual conference work. You know, this is a time when I'd normally be telling people at a regular conference where the restrooms were and where the breakout rooms were. But here's what Nathan's asked me to share with you. While listening to today's presentations, you're encouraged to use the reactions feature on Zoom. If you hear something you like, give us a thumbs up. Use the heart icon for something that you love. Give us a thumbs down if you're dissatisfied. Also, you need to use the raise your hand feature if you'd like to ask a question live with video and audio. You may also type a question into the chat at any time, and our presenters will answer your questions at the end of the meeting. Upon the conclusion of all reports, breakout rooms will open for you to hear in more detail the proposed constitutional changes, as well as you'll get a chance to talk to representatives from AMBA. Now, for the first speaker of the day, it's my pleasure to introduce our association president, Mr. Bill Funkhauser.
Good morning. Welcome to IRTA's first virtual conference of 2023. Instead of one area conference in July, we scheduled 6 virtual updates spread out over several months, hosted by your area representatives. All members worldwide are welcome to attend all sessions. Today I report to you that the state of our association is sound. Membership continues to rise, while most associations are either remaining stagnant or are losing members. As of January, our membership was 40,154, marking the first time in our history that has exceeded 40,000 members. Financially, the association is equally sound. Dues collected last year amounted to approximately $900,000, representing 71% of all income. There is $3.2 million in reserves and assets totaling $1.5 million. Planning is underway for the biennial convention this October 16th and 17th in Springfield, which I encourage all of you to attend. During the convention, we will elect new leaders and vote on changes to our Constitution. Like most associations, IRTA cannot carry out its mission and functions without volunteers to lead our boards and committees. Later in the meeting, you'll hear from the Nominations Committee and the importance of members getting involved in leadership. But finding new leaders is only half the battle. In looking to the future and making sure our association remains relevant, we have been reviewing the consultants' recommendations from the organizational review, the strategic plan developed by the executive committee, the things we learned from what happened during the pandemic, and the fact that our Constitution was written in the 1950s, almost 7 decades ago. With these things in mind, when I appointed a Constitution Committee to propose constitutional changes to remove roadblocks to efficient operations and continued success, I asked the members to begin the process with an open mind. In one of today's sessions, Vice President and Constitution Committee Chair Roger Hampton will discuss these proposed changes and their rationales. At the end of the program, there will be a question and answer session for you to be thoroughly adversed on why these changes are vital for the organization moving forward. As you know, our Executive Director, Jim Bachman, will be retiring at the end of the year. Jim has done an excellent job bringing our association to a place of prominence. He will be hard to replace. Last year, I established an Executive Director Search Committee to lead our search for his replacement. The committee has met regularly and has engaged with a professional association consultant to assist with finding and reviewing candidates. After a vetting of potential candidates, the Executive Committee will make the final decision of which candidate will be hired. For the Foundation, the charitable arm of the association since 1985, I am pleased to report a strong financial position and another successful year carrying out its mission. The Foundation executes 3 benevolent programs. Member assistance, where we have assisted 11 people in 2022, 10 with a monthly stipend for a total of $4,325 per month, with one also receiving a one-time sum of $2,675 to pay their real estate taxes. We also provided another one-time payment of $6,330 to a person so they did not lose their house, making a total of $54,810 for the year. This was an increase of 2 members receiving monthly assistance. We give a scholarship in each of the 6 areas. This year, the amount of those scholarships will be increased from $1,500 to $2,000. Excellence in Education grants are given to current teachers. Last year, we funded 67 grants for a total of $32,538.39. For 2023, the amount for grants will be increased from $36,500 to $42,000. These programs are funded entirely by donations. None of the money for these programs comes from dues. The primary source is our annual fundraiser. In 2022, this brought in $228,939. Our fundraising appeal will be going out soon, and I hope you all will be very generous in your donations. In November, the Foundation received a marvelous and substantial sum from the late Dr. Stephen Ewell and Diane Ewell of $307,000. Their most generous gift will allow the Foundation to continue achieving its mission for many years to come. Plans are underway to memorialize this gift in a perpetual way. Additionally, in December, the Foundation received a $100,000 donation from the Helen Kennedy family to establish a scholarship in her name. Including these very generous donations, the total donations for 2022 was $754,571. We should all be very proud and let them know about the things the Foundation does. I want to thank all of you for attending today and for being members of the only organization whose sole purpose is protecting the benefits of retired educators. I hope you have an informative and beneficial conference. For the legislative update, let's now go to Executive Director Jim Bachman, Legislative Affairs Coordinator Courtney Hayes, and our contract lobbyist Andrew Bodavies. Jim?
Well, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to see everyone this morning. I am going to start this morning with just giving you a little bit of a lawsuit update. For those that don't remember, approximately a year ago, we filed a lawsuit against the state of Illinois, dealing with the funding of your health insurance, the TRIP program, Trip and Trail. We are currently working with the Attorney General's office to bring this lawsuit to a close. The negotiations at this time are proceeding, but moving very slowly. We are waiting upon both the Department of Central Management and Services and the Comptroller's office to provide us statements that will be entered into the court record and will be covered by the law in the future in this sense. But hopefully we will have those shortly. And next week I have a scheduled conference call with our attorney, John Fitzgerald, to review those and see where we will go from there. At this time, that is currently the only lawsuit, the update I have on the lawsuit. I will allow Andrew Bodavies now to provide you a little bit of legislative update. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for letting me speak today. As Jim sort of started off by saying, a lot of our focus this year, and frankly, the last couple of years, has been on the healthcare side of things. We had quite a bit of luck, historically, in getting our pensions relatively secured. And on that note, I will say the governor has re-upped his request for extra money into TRS. That's over and above the certified amount. Obviously, IRTA always fights for the certified amount to make sure that TRS is funded as it needs to be. Last 2 years, the governor's put in additional money, and this year he's, in his most recent budget address, proposed that as well. So that would be $110 million extra dollars, so in pension. So again, it's not funded the way we want to see it funded, but the important thing is we're moving in the right direction there. We're not seeing, Senate Bill 1 remakes where they're trying to reduce benefits for active or retired members, and they're following up with funding. So pensions are in a fairly good space. But healthcare remains a battle. Working with CMS has remained somewhat difficult. As I'm sure many of you all have experienced this most recent change where CMS eliminated 2 HMO options and went with a single offer, which is Aetna, and canceled their contract with United. That's caused substantial consternation for a lot of our members. I'm sure Aetna is a very good company, but there are areas of the state where it has made it very difficult to get healthcare for folks. We continue to work on that. I think one misunderstanding about IRTA's sort of situation in the healthcare is that we somehow negotiate this when that is not the truth. This is a decision that is left to CMS to make. They make it behind closed doors, and we find out the information the same time that all of the membership finds out the information. With that in mind, we introduced House Bill 3504, and that bill is a fairly straightforward bill, and it just says that prior to making any major plan design changes, that CMS has to post that information with the Commission on Government Forecasting and Accountability, which is a legislative oversight entity. So simply what it would mean is that CMS will have to come 120 days before they eliminate an HMO or before they eliminate a benefit or any major plan design changes, and they have to post that. The idea behind this legislation is that everybody then has a long enough period where they can become informed, and that can influence, any decisions they have to make or and actions that they might have to take prior to that event happening. So that's the goal there. Mike Marin, who filed House Bill 3504, also filed House Bill 3784 that we're supportive of. That would require that CMS offer at least 2 options. So this is the first time in, I think, the entire history, but I can say absolutely in the recent history of Trip and Trail that CMS hasn't offered at least 2 options. And we believe, and many members of the General Assembly believe, that part of this lack of coverage would be resolved if CMS had offered both an HMO and a PPO option. So there's those 2 items of legislation. The State Retirees Association, because they're also impacted by all of this, also filed Senate Bill 1762. That's their version, and they basically would require all doctors to accept any Medicare plan. They contacted us and asked us if we would support them in that. We certainly indicated to them that we like the idea. I have to be honest, the full weight of the Illinois Medical Association, which is the group for doctors, and the National Medical Association, their national counterpart, will fight heavily against that and will expend any amounts necessary to beat that back. So that bill, I think, while it's a great bill, is a touch aspirational, but certainly if it's possible, we would be supportive. We think, being more surgical in what we're trying to do here, and since 3504 and 3784, we think that is going to be better. The other thing that I wanted to talk a little bit about, and these meetings are always best when you're asking us for things and we're asking you for things. So I'm going to shift to the me asking you for things piece. If any of you out there are having problems with accessing care, or maybe you've got to drive too far for a doctor, or you're getting treatment now and that's been complicated because you've moved over to Aetna. If any of you all have personal experiences that you'd like to share, we would strongly encourage you to share those with your lawmakers. Some of that's happening now, but as lawmakers understand that CMS's decisions are failing retired teachers, that matters to them. And so being able to have that personal context, even if it's anecdotal, is very important to lawmakers. And we've got a great tool most of you have used before, Voter Voice, that makes it super simple. Courtney's forgotten more than I'll ever know about using Voter Voice, so I'm going to ask her to go through that process right now.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Like you said, I'm Courtney Hayes. I'm glad to be here. We do offer Voter Voice, which is a great resource to get in contact with your legislators. It's a great way to find out who your legislators are. We do have a lot of new members. So if you get on the IRT website in the members only section, there is a Voter Voice option. You click on it and you're able to put your first name, last name, and your email. It's easy as that. Once you are enrolled in that, you will receive emails if we have a call to action, which makes it so easy for you to get in and write an email, generic, or you can add your own personal experience to it, and it sends it directly to them. It's great. And if anybody has any questions or they have any issues signing up, please call the office and I'd be happy to help.
And I guess at this point, I would simply just say, or to add to Courtney, is that what Andrew is asking and what we're asking is that literally take the opportunity to go in, register on Voter Voice, and send your own personal email to your legislator. We will not send an action out at this point. So we're asking you to take the opportunity, go in, put your name, address, and so forth. It'll put you in with your state senator and representative. And at that point in time, relay to them your personal story about what is going on with Aetna and you're at this time. So that's what we're asking you on that. Courtney, do we have any questions at this point in time? Is anybody in the chat?
I'm not seeing any yet.
Okay. At this point, we'll take anybody's questions. Otherwise, we'll move to the next speaker.
John is raised his hand.
Well, I always have to ask 2 quick questions. The first was, I did see reading yesterday that community colleges are way behind on their payments. And I know it doesn't affect us, but I wonder if we're watching it. The second thing is our Senator Mike Halpin filed 3504 or Senate Bill 1749, which is trying to add to TRS recipients some vision and dental type stuff, which I noticed immediately went to assignments and nothing's happened. So, but he did chair the pension committee on House, and I don't know if there's any hope for that or not, just wondering.
So, yeah, so let me start with 1749. So yes, this is a bill that was filed by Halpin. It allows CMS to offer dental and vision, which we would argue, and Jim and I have talked about this quite a bit, we believe they currently have the authority to do. So I'm not sure 100% if this bill is really necessary, but certainly like the idea of talking about more benefits to retirees. I will point out there are some really great options out there in dental and vision that folks have access to now. And historically, because this has been something, John, you've been part of these conversations historically. This is something that's comes up almost every year. We talk about it, and what ends up happening is, CMS sort of points out, we probably couldn't do a better benefit than is out there now. There's a few people that offer them. The best benefit out there is offered by the Illinois Retired Teachers Association. So for anybody that needs dental and vision, certainly check out what we're offering. I'm not just saying it because I think everything we do is the best, which I believe, but I'm also saying it because I think it is going to be the best cost program. But if it doesn't fit for you, doesn't work for you, the NEA offers a program, AARP offers a program. There's a lot of choices out there. So again, I would start by looking at ours if you need that. But if it doesn't fit for whatever reason, there's plenty of other choices. And what CMS has basically said is, these programs are somewhat standardized in the dental and vision space, and we really can't get you a better price product by running it through the state than you already have access to. So I think that's important to keep in mind. But again, certainly love Senator Halpin, former Representative Halpin, friends of retired teachers, and this is just more a demonstration of that. But I don't know if that bill is going to be soup yet. The first question I got was community colleges, and yes, they are about 3 years behind. So if somebody gets service from a doctor through the community college program, they get paid about 3 years later. Imagine if your school district's paid you 3 years after you perform the work. That'd be a hard way to go. They're on really bad straits, and it's important to remember that as much as we're fighting for funding for Trip and Trail, we're nowhere near what's going on with the community colleges. We're so much better than that. But that's why we're fighting so hard, because we know what can happen when plans fail.
Well, thank you for all you do. I'll get off now. I appreciate it.
We had a couple other questions. Let me just answer. Would problems with United Healthcare still be relevant? If under the United Healthcare and they were in 2022, sure, you can. I would continue to. You can email me to let me know what the problems are, and I would also email your legislator. I have another one. Is it true that Aetna charges more prescriptions from the pharmaceuticals other than CVS, which they own? One is, I think they do. There's a network that they use. CVS uses. There's certain pharmacies that are under that network that don't charge more. But if you're speaking of like a Walgreens, I can tell you that I think they do add $1, my understanding, to that prescription. And in addition to that, if we're talking about the categories, everything that the Medicare Advantage plan does is pretty well regulated by the feds, by Medicare. But the one thing that the companies still have the ability to do is move the drugs in and out of categories, whether it's a tier 1, tier 2, generic, and so forth. So, and we have no control over that. Obviously, some of you have experienced that you've gone to the pharmacy and found that some of your drugs are cheaper, and some of you found that some of your drugs are more expensive. That is one thing that they have the ability to do. Let's see. I was disappointed that copays increased by 50% when I had Aetna HMO the last few years. Truly, once again, I would have to go back and look at that again in 2022 or before that, as far as what the HMOs did. Obviously, Andrew spoke to the idea that the HMO option no longer exists. I think that's all we have right now.
Jim, there was one more about, is there any way for an out-of-state member to influence Illinois legislation?
Sorry, Susan responded. Unfortunately, if you're out of state, you have to put your address in, so it wouldn't be able to contact you with the legislator since you are out of state. You can get on the Illinois General Assembly website and look for certain legislators' emails. I will say, if you aren't their constituent, it is a little harder to talk to them, but there is emails and phone numbers for, wherever you may have lived in the past that you may want to connect with regarding certain issues.
And the only other thing I could add is that if you happen to have a family member that still lives in Illinois and they don't mind you using their address to contact through that and speak to their legislator, that would also be an option.
And I think Chairwoman Teefe's also going to talk about another way you can help.
So I think that's all we have unless somebody else has more. Am I missing anything, Nathan?
That's it.
If not, thank you, everyone. And it's my pleasure to introduce Sharon Teefe, our IRTA PAC chairperson. Sharon, it is your turn.
I'm Sharon Teefe, chair of the IRTA Political Action Committee, PAC. The IRTA PAC is nonpartisan. Our endorsement process is consistent, member-involved, and based solely on our two retiree issues, our pensions and our health care benefits. We do not consider any other political stances or votes taken outside the realm of these two issues. Late summer of 2022, in a non-standard shorter election cycle, we mailed a questionnaire based on our issues to all candidates on the ballot for both the Illinois House and the Illinois Senate, minus the write-ins. A total of 73 questionnaires were returned from the House of Representatives, 39 Democrats and 34 Republicans, and 20 Democrats and 16 Republicans in the Senate, totaling 109, a historical high in IRTA's 60-plus years. In the November 2022 elections, we endorsed 52 House candidates and 27 Senate candidates. All 27 IRTA-endorsed Senate candidates won, and 50 of the 52 endorsed House candidates won. We are pleased with this result and confident that each legislator we endorse has our best interest in mind. However, we can always do more to protect our benefits. In the coming weeks and months, there will be opportunities to connect with your legislators, and we encourage you to do so. There will be legislative events in your area. You can schedule a visit to your legislator's home office or invite them to one of your meetings and talk about our pension and our health care benefits. Include personal stories. To assist in these discussions, staff developed talking points, and the document is available in the chat and on the IRTA website. As always, if you need additional support, please do not hesitate to contact the IRTA office. IRTA's power is in our members. Our effectiveness is our statewide grassroots effort as well as donations to our PAC fund, which is twofold. We accept one-time donations, and we also have a $1 per month pension donation program. $1 is drafted from your pension check each month and deposited in the PAC account. Please get involved with PAC and encourage your fellow retirees to join as well. Let's make 2023 the year we actively work to increase the percentage of members in each area and region of Illinois who pay into the $1 a month club. Joining the PAC is easy. Just fill out the PAC donation form, a link to which is in the chat. Working together, we can proactively build relationship with lawmakers on both sides of the aisle throughout the state and educate them as well as others on our pension and health care benefits. Benefits we earned, benefits we need to actively protect. Thanks for all you do.
Hello, 2023 IRTA members, of which I am one of the 40-some thousand members of the IRTA. There are 129,000 other annuitants, retired teachers. I'd like to see that 40,000 get to 50,000 and maybe 60,000 and continue to grow until we reach a majority of those retired. I hope everybody understands that the IRTA is the only organization that helps protect our pensions and benefits, and that's my job for another 4 years. Thank you to those people who signed my petition through TRS or the IRTA page. We had over 500 signatures relatively quick, and it seemed like over 1,000, I was told later. So yes, I am going to be serving, and happily so, another 4 years on the State of Illinois Teacher Retirement Board of Trustees and serving you, the TRS members, and especially us IRTA people, because that is important. And that's why we're having these area conferences. I wish we could do them in person, but thanks to Nathan and the IRTA staff, we're going to do the Zoom. Appreciate the help of all of them down there in Springfield. I hope everybody received their retirement pay February 1st that included your COLA clause. Again, thanks to an organization like us, that is still ours. We don't want to lose that, nor do we want to lose our insurance, subsidized insurance benefit from the state. I think I should let you know that I did some research and know that for the past 83 some years, since 1939, TRS has paid our retirement pay every month on time for 83 years, which means thank you, TRS. There are some $60 billion under management, what they call AUM, assets under management. And that will fluctuate up and down according to the stock market. You've seen a couple of years ago, we had a 20-some% increase. Last year, we were down minus 1.18 or 1.2, but that was better than most of the other retirement plans of our peer size around our area. And we are the largest pension system in the state of Illinois. And I believe we're like 46th in the nation concerning all kinds of pensions. That is something at some $60 billion is important. But you have to realize that the state of Illinois still owes our pension fund some $80 billion. And I would like you to not be afraid to contact your state representatives and remind them of that fact. TRS, that is called an unfunded liability, which means we only have a little over 40 cents per dollar to pay out retirement benefits. If we had that extra 80-some billion dollars, we would be doing even better, and the state wouldn't have to put so much in every year. And then let the politicians start arguing about this, that, and the other thing about how much they have to put into all the pensions, of which we are one of the 5 public pensions in the state of Illinois. There is the TRS, which we're the largest, state universities, state employees, the legislators, and the judges, which is probably the most underfunded. We're all barely around 40%. So don't be afraid to contact your representatives. The other thing I'd like to say is if we could get, I've gotten some nice calls from around the state from people who have been supporting me and helping with the petitions and the nominations and all that stuff. I thank you very much for doing that. In our group, Rock Island County, we had a very good turnout. We had some great people who helped me get started and get the signatures on the petition for the nomination. I would encourage every IRTA member to go out and try and get 2 or 3 retired members that we know and make sure they are members of IRTA. Make sure they are members of the local, get them involved, because again, I'll finish. If it's not for the IRTA, we wouldn't have our subsidized insurance, our 3% COLA clause, and you never know with the economy. in Springfield, in Washington, the stock market, world events, it's going to affect things. So I hope that people realize that they need to be a little more involved. It's nice to get that retirement pay every month. There's a lot of people working on that to make sure and ensure that it's there. So thank you once again. I hope the area conferences go well for everyone. Doug Strand signing off. Thank you.
Good morning. The nomination committee was established by the 2021 IRTA Delegate Assembly. Roger Hampton was named by President Bill Funkhauser to chair the inaugural committee to be the new standing committee for the organization. The committee originally consisted of Area 1, Jackie Sapenza, Area 2, Bob Kaplan, Area 3, Ray Kaufman, Area 4, Dolores Turner, Area 5, Jane McCown, and Area 6, Pat King. The committee retained flexibility in establishing its own goals. The understanding was that later constitutional changes might need to be made to accommodate new leaders to take on leadership roles and be inclusive of all IRTA members. Possible new ways to recruit new members and leaders were discussed with the ideas that the regional superintendents and the Illinois Principals Association could be used as a conduit in finding new possible leaders. In all, as of February 1st, the committee has met via Zoom 5 times with a 6th meeting planned on April 27th. Nominations will continue to be open until June 1st, 2023. All officer positions of president, vice president, secretary, and treasurer will be voted on at the Delegate Assembly in October. There will also be elections held for area representative in areas 2, 4, and 6. Each will hold a 4-year term. The nomination forms are listed in the members-only section of the IRTA website. Nominees need to be nominated by a fellow association member. The committee works very well and cooperatively in seeking assistance for candidates in their own area. When Roger Hampton took interim vice presidency, I assumed the chair position for the committee's last 3 meetings. A big thanks to Roger Hampton for his strong vision and leadership in beginning the new committee. Following the change, Jackie, Ray, Dolores, Jane, and Pat continue to serve, once again seeking new candidates for open positions. Bob Lyons from Area 2 was named to replace me as the new member on the committee. Moving forward, the goal continues to be to find new and motivated leaders to work with our new executive director in 2024, our professional staff, and our more than 40,000 members. Thank you.
Go ahead, Larry, we can all see you.
Okay, great. I had something on my screen I didn't quite understand, so I just wanted to make sure. Good morning, everybody. It is great to be here. I am Larry Newman, Regional Vice President with AMBA. Super excited to be here. It's great to see so many familiar faces and good friends that I've made over my almost 15-year career here at AMBA. It's hard to believe. This morning I have Nancy Kramer and Gary DeVito also on this call. A couple of our agents happen to also be on this call. And again, we are really excited to be part of this and excited to be getting back to doing some things, together like we used to be able to do. And I want to talk about and touch on a couple of things. First of all, many of you are probably aware about our webinar series that we have started with John Green. I know several people, we've had some great attendance in the very first 2 that we have done. The webinar series is happening every month, a different topic. So please be on the lookout for that. I know that those pop up in various emails and they're posted on the website. Feel free to join those webinars and bring a friend, bring somebody that is a future retiree to these. They're just a great way for you guys to kind of keep re-engaging. It's a great way for folks who are down in maybe Florida or Arizona or Texas for the winter to be able to kind of stay in touch with IRTA and some of the things that are happening. So it's a really exciting time for us in our partnership with the Illinois Retired Teachers Association. What I'm really excited about though now is we've been trying to look for a way to continue to drive membership, continue to drive new members. We're doing a really good job on our inside sales team as we're promoting dental and vision as a great way to bring in new members, right? Our field sales though, we really want to get back to helping bring new members into the association. So one of the ideas that we've come up with that I think has a lot of potential that can be fantastic. As we are getting back to speaking at your local unit meetings, we've put together a program where we can literally, let's say I was going to be speaking at the Winnebago County meeting, and I'm just picking that one out there right now because it comes to mind. And I know that meeting is coming up in 4 months. I'll connect with the Winnebago chapter president, and what we're going to do, AMBA is going to pay for anywhere from 1,000 up to 2,000 letters are going to go out to promote what we call a lunch and learn seminar. And it's going to be combined with your unit meeting. And the goal for it is we are going to be sending these mailings out strictly to non-members in and around your county. So that's really what we want to do and try to bring folks in. And we want to do this all throughout the state. So Gary, Nancy, and I are going to be in room number 4, breakout room 4 after this meeting. And we will have our spreadsheet there. I know that we are already scheduled to speak at many meetings, but we would love to be able to incorporate this to help bring new local members, fresh faces to the IRTA and to your local unit. Anyone that comes in from this letter, we're going to buy lunch for. In fact, I'm going to share screen. Nathan, I think you gave me the opportunity to do that. So I just want to give you guys a quick snapshot of what it will look like. So Nathan, give me a thumbs up so I know you can see this. Awesome. So as you can see here, it says reserve your spot today. And as this postcard comes into the mail to these non-members in your area, in and around your county, they literally can hold up their phone and sign up and register for it. It's that simple. Join us for a lunch and learn seminar at your local county meeting. Let me see if I can scroll over here, and then you can see what the backside would look like. And as it says here at the top, in addition to legislative advocacy and making strong social connections with your peers, membership in your association comes with many perks, some of which are free. Join us for a lunch and learn about these benefits and more. As it says here, join IRTA for a lunch and learn. This particular one is about an intro to your association benefits. So we feel that if we are sending these to non-members, potential new retirees, if we can get a handful of them to join your meeting, and then we can do a review of benefits, it could be a big win-win for everybody. Our goals are to help understand what benefits are available through IRTA, make sure you're up to date on any changes in your benefits, find ways to save you money, and update you on the latest legislative issues. Really excited about it. You notice here, you got a when and a venue location. So I know it's always been hard to get new people to join, right? To get people to come. I think this is going to be a great way. We know, this would not be necessarily for the brand new retirees, although they might be able to come depending on the day and the time, but this, because they're still teaching, right? But there's so many non-members, people who've never joined IRTA that are in your counties. So if you live in a smaller county and you get us to come to one of your unit meetings, it may be we're only going to send out 500 letters. It all depends on the size of the county. But for the larger counties, like in around Cook County or Lake County or McHenry County, we will have the ability to send out up to 2,000 letters, and we are going to pay for it all. And anybody that comes and brings their card to your meeting, we're going to buy them lunch at your meeting. We'll do our presentation. We don't want to take up your entire meeting. So there's still going to be plenty of time for you to do all the great stuff that you guys do at your meetings. I used to love coming to those meetings. That was always my favorite thing to do. I remember, I don't remember which unit it is, but one of my favorite ones is one that they always, everybody brought pies, and I would get to go home with 2 pies. That was always a fun thing for me. But anyway, just really appreciate this opportunity to be here today. Hop in our room after the show here, and room number 4, and we will be ready to get you guys signed up. We want to come, speak at your local unit meeting, and we want to invite some folks and get some new members in and get some new blood into your local unit, and most importantly, into the IRTA. We will be prepared to make them IRTA members that day. So this should be an exciting year, an exciting time. I'm super pumped to be back out there with everybody, and you guys get to see my smiley face and Gary's and Nancy's and all of our agents from around the state. So thank you all for having us. I would like to now turn this over to my very, very good friend, the IRTA Vice President, Roger Hampton, and Roger's going to give us an update on the Constitution report. So thank you all very much. Come on over to room number 4 after the show.
And thank you, Larry. If I'm on, also we're joined by Donna, so if she is on also. I see that Larry, I think, is on the main screen, but we'll go ahead. And welcome from cloudy, rainy Dunlap, Illinois. Happy to be here because I hear if I was in near the Wisconsin border in the Northwest, I might be getting rain that is turning to ice, turning to a foot or more of snow. I mentioned that because I was going to be joined by Gail Hobb. She is on the committee as a representative from Area 1. However, with this forecast of ice and they are driving, so they left early this morning to try to get ahead of the rain changing to ice. And so she is not able to join me by Zoom to help me with this presentation. I have asked another member of our committee, Donna Sargent, who is from Area 4 on the committee. She's also Area 4 representative. And so she will be joining me in presenting our proposed constitutional changes. As I go through these, I know it will be a lot of material to kind of remember. If you could kind of think of the article number that we are mentioning, and if you have questions in after we make these presentations, I refer to an article number or a topic area, and that will help us kind of key in on what your question is asking specifically. In thinking of our committee, with the ever-changing world, the association is in need of changes to best serve the IRTA membership in whole. The need to make the association more efficient and attractive, especially to new members, is important. Therefore, the Constitution Committee proposes the following constitutional amendments. Proposal to changes in Article 3, membership and dues. The proposal is to remove Section 4, and it will be corrected and added to the IRTA standing rules at the following spring IRTA Board of Directors meeting if this passes. The rationale for doing that change or proposing that is the constitution of an organization contains the fundamental operations of principles for the organization in governing the operation, while standing rules were meant to establish the specific rules by which the group is to function. And so that really has been a statement that always all along should have been in the standing rules because of its very content. So that was that proposal. I will continue then letting Donna go next and make the next presentation.
There are 3 proposed amendments for Article 6, Section 1A, meetings. Prior to the biennial convention, active members shall have the ability to 1, elect officers, 2, elect area representatives in their respective areas, and 3, amend the Constitution. Our rationales: this would allow all active state members the ability to vote for officers. give all state members in their respective area the ability to vote for area reps, and allow all active state members the ability to vote for proposed constitutional amendments, which would provide all in-state and out-of-state members the ability to determine how their association is organized and operated. All members would have the ability to vote electronically or by paper ballot. Information, both pro and con, would be provided to the membership to be used in each member's decision-making. This information would be provided to the members in a like manner that the Secretary of State provides Illinois residents on proposed Illinois state constitutional amendments. If these proposed amendments pass, Article 6, Meetings, Section 1, B, C, and D would be removed. Details of the election process would be added to the standing rules.
Thank you, Donna. Proposed amendment for Article 7, Section 1, which is Board of Directors and Executive Committee. The Board of Directors shall consist of the officers and area representatives. That would remove Section 4, Executive Committee, and remove Executive Committee from Article 7 title. The rationale for this proposal. The current 33-member Board of Directors structure was reviewed by an outside consultant and was seen as largely titular, with the most consequential issues being decided at the Executive Committee level. Therefore, we propose the Board of Directors consistent of the officers and area representatives. Area representatives will still provide area representation on the Board of Directors. If this amendment should pass, the following amendment would also be proposed. Proposed amendment for Article 7, Section 3A. The Board of Directors shall have a minimum of 4 meetings annually. Rationale, the proposed amendment to have the Board of Directors meet a minimum of 4 times per year instead of 2 is to be more informed on a regular basis. Meeting only twice a year was not enough to keep up on what is happening in Springfield. Donna?
The next proposal, if the proposed amendment to remove regional directors from the Board of Directors, the following amendments are proposed. Article 8, Divisions, Section 1. The divisions of the association shall be areas and units. The rationale, since it is proposed to remove regional directors, the divisions of the association shall be areas and units. Therefore, the term region will be removed from Section 1. Article 8, Section 3, Regions. Parts A, B, and C would be removed if regions are no longer a division of the association.
The next proposed amendment is Article 9 on committees. Article 9, Section 1. Standing committees shall be Finance, Legislative, Member Benefits, Membership, and Leadership Development. The rationale, changing the Nominations Committee name to Leadership Development Committee is more descriptive of the committee's purpose.
Proposed amendment, Article 9, Section 3A. The Finance Committee and the Leadership Development Committee shall consist of a chair and 1 voting member from each area. The Legislative, Member Benefits, and Membership Committees shall consist of a chair, the corresponding local unit chair, and any active member that wishes to serve. Our rationales, by having a unit representative on the Legislative, Member Benefits, and Membership Committees, each unit will have representation on the committee. Communication to the unit will be immediate. Using Zoom technology, we can broaden involvement in the Legislative, member benefits, and membership committees by including local unit chairpersons and other active members with an interest in the committee's work. This would promote more membership involvement, which is one of the overriding needs that have been identified by members of the Constitution Committee.
Thank you, Donna. That is a lot of information for you to just listen to, and I realize up front. This has been quite a process of the committee meeting, many meetings, a lot of homework between meetings. So I appreciate all the committee members and their work. To process and to give you the information, this is not the only opportunity. At each conference, we will be giving additional information and opportunities for more questions and answers. So this process will happen up until convention time so that you will be well informed and having your input and question and answers of how the proposals were developed. There will be a constitution action that is sent out before the convention that the convention action, actually the edition that will outline all these in print with the rationales. Also, we will give other opportunities in each action that will come before that time with articles on the overview and the reasonings for each of those. Also, in the next few minutes, we will open it up for questions that we will answer to give you insight. To go through all of that up front would have been more than we could handle. So it's best to take a question that you have on any amendment proposed, or how it was developed, what rationale was used to come up with that answer. So that is basically our presentation at this time, kind of the overview of that. And so I will open it up for questions. And as presented initially, of what you would need to do is raise your hand on your computer hand there for reaction, and we'll say raise hand, and Nathan will take those. I have other members of our committee that are also on that will help in that aspect of answering some of these questions. Okay, Nathan, who do we have?
Elaine, if you can unmute, please.
Hi, thank you very much. I just would like a little bit of information about what affords us by renaming the term region to area and units in the Constitution. Is this going to change and allow us for a different leadership design, or what is the rationale? If you could go into a little more detail of why the decision to change to area and units over the word regions, I would appreciate it.
Okay, the term region is taken out. There has always been the state and the organization of area representatives. You would be taking out the region. There are several elements that we looked at and really went over it and over it. We looked at a history of what was actually happening. We currently have one region that does not have a regional director, and there will be none because none of the local units want to participate in that. That is a reality. We've been talking about the possibility of that reality for many years, and it is actually finally come to fruition of being true. We have two other regions where there are maybe 5 or 6 or more local units, but only 2 say they are participating. So it goes from one of those local units to have a representative to the other, back and forth. So the other area locals are not even represented in that. We also almost had a situation where there was a region that had 2 units, which some of the larger units, that is true. And one of those was saying the locals said, if we cannot get local representatives, we are going to disband. That would only leave 1 unit in that region, and by constitutional definition of what a region is, they could not operate as a region. What happens in that situation, already coming up for our convention in October, there are hundreds of people who cannot attend the come to the convention and vote. because you have to be part of a local, and those locals have disbanded or they're not a region, et cetera. And so it's kind of to look at the reality of what is happening and has happened. We also looked and talked to former regional directors about their involvement, and they said, actually told us they did not really see their reason for being a regional director. That was one reason they went off, because when they went, their main purpose was to disseminate information, as the 1950-something Constitution said they would disseminate information to the locals. Well, they already received information when they went there, because IRTA now is more functional, and because of reality of communication options like the constant contact, et cetera, we can send that information out from the IRTA office. So just communication that is being able to allow now. So there's a lot of reasonings behind the deletion of regional directors in that area. If Donna or any of the others that I think Norm or Ann that are on as committee members want to address that also, this would be a good time.
I would just say that, like Roger said, the local units receive all of the information. So the regional directors, that quote job is not needed anymore. The local units, if other things that we have proposed passes, the local units would have representation on membership benefits. They would have representation on legislative and representation on membership. So the local units would take more ownership.
Okay, we have two hands raised, and just a reminder for everyone watching that if you'd like to join in the conversation, there's an icon that normally at the bottom of your screen called reactions. And then after you click that, you'll need to click the raise your hand feature to join in. So Bob Kaplan, you'll be next. If you could unmute and you come on board.
Hi. I got a question as far as data goes, Chairman Hampton. Was the numbers in each of the area reviewed, and what about the voting process with one person, one vote? Is there any way of knowing how many at-large people would be participating? And is there some equivalency between the areas when you take away some of these other regional issues? Just curious to see how that breaks down.
So you're talking about the voting more?
Well, voting and also representation.
Okay.
I mean, if you're indeed trying to get equal representation, and the problem was within the regions that people weren't going to be able to be represented anymore. I'm just curious how the breakdown in areas and total membership of the 40,000, I think I heard the number earlier, 154 members exist. And if we're reorganizing to that great extent, shouldn't we look at the overall effect of the data of our membership and representation across the board?
Okay, that kind of gets into the topic of inclusion. And our main focus of inclusion was to look at all aspects of our organization, of how every member could be included in this process to the extent that they would want, because now that was not happening. At the convention, we had very low representation. Rarely was there a unit who sent all the representatives that they could have, delegates that they could have. So a minority within each local of who they sent, locals did not do that. They were not sending it. So very few people were speaking for how the organization. So we wanted to look at how we could be more inclusive so that people felt like, yes, this is my organization. You also had all the out-of-state members, which continues to grow. And now you had the, we have 6 units, I believe, or 7 units. They have disbanded, so that now they have no representation. They've already disbanded. We have another group of several units who are not meeting still yet after pandemic. We're assuming they will probably also disband. So we are looking at over 20% of our membership who do not have the ability to be involved at this point. That is getting to be a large number. as you approach a fourth of the membership. So we tried to look at how could we be more inclusive. So this was one of the other ways to do it. Voting would be open for all. We've already, Nathan's investigated for us a program that would look at voting, of how it could happen for everyone and how they could participate. We would do both a paper and electronic, and the cost is minimal. 300 was a look at, amazingly, that we'd look at that, but depending on all the bells and whistles, you might get up to 1,000, but a very efficient way of doing it for having inclusion of all. We found that in reality, regional directors, they say, oh, our regional director is awesome. We had to look at not what was happening in one area or one local or one region. We had to look at statewide, what was the reality of what was happening. Yes, there were some regional directors who did a fantastic job and went in person to each of their locals and communicated. That was not true across the board. To, I would say, a majority, that did not happen, because when I contacted a few of those locals, no, they never heard from the regional director. So that personal touch that several people said, oh, we need that personal touch. Well, that may be true, but that was not the reality of what was happening. And so does that answer your question, or do I need to be something else?
No, I mean, I'm just throwing something out there. I was just wondering if any study was done regarding the overall membership breakdown, and if we need like an at-large area rep to deal with those people who, you know, are going to be coming into the electoral process and have representation outside of the election. And maybe since we use Zoom to go to these committee meetings, maybe we need to come up with some at-large representation from units we could somehow design. I'm just saying, I'd like to see, if we're going to do such a major overhaul, which I think is needed, how do we do that best with people that aren't presently connected? And can we do that? So I just was wondering if you had that discussion. That's all.
We've had that discussion, and that is one reason you have come up this year to, it is really not an Area 1 conference, an Area 2 conference. It's an area conference hosted by Area 1 that any of the 40,000 members were aware of this, they could join it. We also are not any longer going to Florida in person. We're not going to Arizona. That was every other year, because we also have many members in every state, including Hawaii. Right. And so by opening it up for them to participate at this level, so that was a start. Now, whether they could have an area, it would be, you know, since you have someone in almost every 50 states, that it would be, but it could be a unit. So that would be something that could be in the future coming up with, I agree. And yes, we did have the discussion of, and that was one reason this conference was changed.
Okay,
And
thank
Bob,
you. Yeah.
Bob, I will add some numbers for you. At our 2019 convention, which was the last in-person convention, we had 331 voting delegates from 74 units. So we had 92, 93 units, and only 74 were represented. In 2021, which was in a virtual convention, we had 254 voting delegates, and they only represented 67 units. We just felt that those percentages were very, very small to be making decisions for the entire organization.
Well, yes, and that's why I would say we should probably break that data down and see where everybody's coming from, instead of holding on to the same area designations that we have now, so that when you have the umbrella, it actually has supports that equalize the votes that you're getting and represents it. Yeah, that's all I'm asking. I'm not, I think what you've done is great. I just, can we, you know, consider what might be down the road? That's why I'm asking.
Excellent question, and very valid. And we looked at it in totality. I think we are thinking incrementation of the process.
I'm good with that.
Yeah, but a good question. And I think something that I think by presenting it now, so that we are thinking about it, you know, it just is not sprung upon it. This has to constantly evolve as our organization evolves.
All
Very
right.
good.
Sorry to take your time.
No. I appreciate it. Appreciate the input. I think Ann Chandler had been up next and she is on the committee. I think she's down there, but she had her hand up next, Nathan. And she's not
And
there
if you want to
now.
unmute and make a comment, you can.
Well, I just needed to be unmuted so I could pitch in when I needed to pitch in and talk about it. So I appreciate that.
Okay.
Okay,
Do you have any
next,
comment at the moment?
we have three more people in the queue. Don Ostrom.
Good morning. The only question that raised for me was, we have more than 40,000 members to the IRTA, and how many of those 40,000 actually belong to a unit? When you don't belong to a unit, and not because they have to, they don't need to belong, even I am a local unit president, only about 40% of the retirees belong. Yet that list to the unit, but they still belong to IRTA. Well, they're really not represented when it comes to voting for officers of IRTA, yet they provide resources and revenue to IRTA. So I think it's a really good move to allow all members of IRTA to vote.
And
Good point.
I totally agree, because that's why we were trying to do is open it up so we could get all members could actively be involved and actively vote without having to be at the convention, and also on some committees could actively be on committees. So the intent, as Roger had said, was inclusion and giving them some voice.
Okay, Marty Swanson.
Hi. I'm concerned about something that's very important that our regional folks do, and that is serve as a conduit, if you will, between IRTA and the local unit. Often they don't see anyone from Springfield. In some areas, not my area, but a lot of areas downstate in particular, there's no way the area rep can visit every unit every year. There are just too many units in that area. And the regional directors fill in that connection position. And I'm really hesitant about doing away with regional directors. They're really important.
Thank you, Marty. I will just give feedback. I'm not going to debate any of this. It's great to have everyone's input. I will just follow up with saying that concept was a fantastic concept. And when it worked, it worked. In reality, I've been on the board for 18, 20 years, not anywhere near what you were. But in that time, within the last decade, that reality has not happened, Marty. They are not going out to the locals. That would be great if they did, but they are not going out to the locals. And now we have found out that one region doesn't even have one anymore because no one wants to be a regional director. So you say it's a conduit. Yes, that's what it was intended to be. But the reality of it, and just in not debating it, but just saying, we looked at the reality of what really was. And that would be fantastic if that could be again, but that it was not the reality of what we look at statistically, what is happening, unfortunately.
Okay, next is Norb Walter.
Yes, and I was a member of the committee also, and I just want to say Roger did a tremendous job as leader of this committee, and the members have had a wide-ranging discussion over a number of months to try to come up with something that we felt both modernized and yet retained the ability of our members to have a voice in our organization. And while it may not be perfect, and it certainly isn't, we're open to being able to change this in the future. And I just think you have to look at what's happening, and the Zoom provides a voice. And I think this is an example right now you can see where we're giving you an option to hear about this constitutional change in a way that we've never been able to do before. it usually wound up with just a couple of hours of discussion on the floor of the convention, and never really had the in-depth analysis that we've been able to do this time. And now there's time for people to really think about what is being proposed. And I hope that people will have discussions with other members, because I really feel as a member of the committee that we're taking a step forward.
And also a point is that we reached out to every regional director, or attempted to reach out to get what their opinion was. And as Roger had said, the vast majority did not see the need for the position. So we did reach out to try to get the views of many.
It just shows how efficient this committee was. They looked at all aspects, and immediately after it was presented to the executive committee and it passed, their directive was to reach out to the regional directors in their area, and they contacted them. Some of them didn't respond, so they sent email and contacted that way. So every regional director was contacted before it was put out to the public. So thank their excellent job on the committee's part.
Fred Bloss. Fred, you're muted. Can you try to unmute, please?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Roger did a fantastic job presenting a lot of information that I was on the committee, and I'm very proud to be on that committee. Marty, I had been a regional director twice, and I can just tell you, I did make it to every one of my units down here in Southern Illinois. Every meeting that I went to that last year, they already had all the information that I brought to them. It was already there. The people in Springfield do a fantastic job of putting out information to everyone within IRTA. And I just felt like it was nice to go down there and meet the presidents and talk to the people. But at the same time, I really did not bring anything new that they already didn't have. And I just thought it was very redundant. Bob Kaplan's point, I think sometime down the line, we may have to look at the different areas. I'm not aware of the numbers, but I suspect there are some areas that have a large number of members, and at the other time, there's some areas that have a smaller number. And whether that balances out, or I don't know, but it might be something to look at later on. But I think that the committee overall, and thanks to Roger, did a fantastic job of looking into every area that we could possibly look in. And the regional directors that I contacted all were in agreement that something had to change, and that they felt like what they were doing was not needed. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Fred. Bill has his hand raised.
Yes. As I mentioned, when I started today, when I appointed this committee, I asked the members to go into it with an open mind, to look at what was happening, to look at the Constitution and see what was working, what no longer works, and go from there. And this was a fantastic committee, and I will tell you, it was a very inclusive committee, because two of the members were former regional directors. One is a current area representative. One was a former committee chair, state committee chair, and the others are all either current or past unit presidents. So they had various points of view to look at. And as we move forward, and Roger took over the committee after we had a change that took place because of a resignation of our vice president, Roger did a fantastic job. The whole committee did. And as Roger pointed out earlier, they did a lot of homework. It wasn't just go to a meeting for an hour and then go home, or go wait for the next meeting for an hour. They did all kinds of things, and they had an online program where they could put their ideas in and the others could see them and comment back and forth. So this committee was one of the most hardworking committees I've ever been involved with. And they did a great job, and I appreciate very much what they did.
I will just make one follow-up comment here. I'm sharing a screen. One of the reasons of how we come up with this information or these proposals was based upon something that happened with the IRTA Executive Committee last year. They were involved in strategic planning for 2022 to 24. And they had a consultant come in and they developed, and all the area representatives and the officers were involved in this document being planned and presented and passed. We took this strategic plan and it's several pages long, but I just wanted to show you that there was that actual document out there. And we took that and took it into consideration of what they asked us to do. We did not just come up with these on our own random whatever. We looked at that strategic plan that they had passed, and then based upon that, we went ahead and developed our amendments to try to be in line with what the executive committee had passed and asked us to do. I think we're open for more questions. Do you see any, Nathan?
There was just a couple comments in the chat. Two people had asked for some visuals. And as you mentioned at the start of your presentation, Roger, that all the changes, proposed changes will be published in the IRTA action, which will be posted online, emailed to all members, and then hard copy mailed to all members as well. So that will be coming to you. One additional question from the chat was, could you please explain Article 8.1 again?
Okay, let me go back to 8.1. Okay, and that had to do with divisions. And I will get the full document here as I'm looking, and someone else could help me too. I'm going to go back to the original proposals. 8.1. I'm trying to see 8.1. Okay, that was divisions. The divisions before had been will remain the same as they, except for the division of region. So the divisions, we did not redo the divisions. There will still be areas and units. Before, there were 3 divisions of areas, regions, and units. So the areas and units will still be the same as they were before. It's just taking out the regions, and then everything else in the Constitution that referred to regions, and there are several areas within the Constitution that reads regions in there. Those would be eliminated just because of eliminating regions. So it was just basically taking that term regions out of the Constitution. I don't know if that answers what they are wanting to know. Any follow-up on one of the committee members of that?
No, I think you explained it well, and in part, by removing that, one of the other parts of that was the board of directors was going to be a smaller group as well to be more effective.
Yeah, just Dave Davison has his hand up. Dave? You're muted.
Okay, I guess I'm unmuted. Or it says you are muted. Can you hear me, Roger?
Yes, yes, we can.
Okay, I just say from the perspective of a guy that was president, I fully support all of the amendments, especially the one that trims down the board of directors. It was always cumbersome to have a board of directors consisting of the regional directors and then the executive committee. So that is really a good thing. I like the idea about everybody having the opportunity to vote. If I had any questions about it, I guess I would wonder why you took the past president off of the board of directors. I know that when I was president, Bob Pinkerton was the past president, and I relied on him a lot. I thought it was very helpful to have him around. That's my only comment, but you guys have done a great job, and I fully support, what you're doing.
In answer to your question, that was a big discussion item about the past president. It was felt that the past president would be relied on for information from the president. I think it was the thought of the person who brought that up that they would not be involved in the voting by being on the board voting for going forward. They wanted to have the president with that ideas and the next future generations be involved in the voting process, but he would actually hopefully be a very important resource for the president. That discussion went back and forth a lot. And so if the committee member that is on that would want to say why they made that initial proposal, and we had a lot of discussion.
We also made that proposal because in the past, someone would be vice president, then they would move into president, then past president, and it was a 6-year commitment. We felt that by taking that past president off the board, that it would reduce it to a 4-year commitment. It had nothing to do with the president. The past president could always be contacted. That past president could always attend board meetings if they so chose. It would just be that they are not physically named in the board.
I forgot that very important point. Yes, just because in getting, it is harder and harder to get people to be on committees, as Bob in his nomination or a committee or it changes names will attest to. And that maybe would be an issue of the next generation of how long they would want to commit to being involved in the committee. So thank you, Donna. Jan has her hand up. Jan, you would need to unmute.
Roger, if we can, just let Dave make a follow-up point, and then we'll go to Jan.
Okay, sure. Dave.
Well, the thing that I would point out is that although the past president would be available for a phone call, he's not going to be sitting in on that meeting when the discussion's taking place. And that's when there was times when I turned to Bob and I got some help there. So, and then this deal about a 6-year term, I've heard that argument before, but I can tell you, if I was a past president and I became ill or I became a place where I lost interest or anything, I just would probably either resign from the board of directors or explain to the president why I wasn't going to be at the meetings. So I've heard those arguments before, and my only point is I still really, I don't feel all that strongly about it, I guess. I just wonder why the past president needed to be taken off. And so I'm not going to debate it any further.
Jan, if you could unmute.
Okay, got me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, the issue of the vote itself on these amendments, it was mentioned earlier how many people actually show up at the biennial conference to cast their votes. If everybody in the future is allowed to vote, will that take some of the value away from attending the convention to some extent? And also, what kind of deadline will there be to get votes in, people voting not attend the meeting so that the outcome will be announced at the convention?
I think I lost him.
Donna, were you able to hear Jan? Could you?
I heard part of it.
Jan, if you wouldn't mind, I'm sorry, repeating your question. It appears that you might have been breaking it out.
Okay. I was wondering if people are allowed to vote without attending the convention, if that will take some of the value away from attending the convention. And also, will there be a deadline? I would assume there will have to be a deadline of some type for getting votes in so that they can be tabulated prior to the convention so that we will know the outcome of the votes on the amendments.
Basically, the plan was that, yes, they would vote before, and it would be sent out electronically. So there would be a deadline. But the thought was too, is if the voting is done, so these amendments or changes, or whatever was needed to be voted on, could be done before the convention, then it would be a more meaningful convention and could go on and have more discussion on topics that are relative to retired teachers.
There would also be a mail-out ballot that would go out, and that also would have to be in a timely manner. Remember, that will not be at this convention. It will be for 2 years from now. So that's the proposal, but all those details would be worked out in the standing rules, not in the Constitution. Does that answer your question, Jan?
Yes.
And just a point of clarification, Roger, on what you would actually be voting on electronically. You'd be only voting electronically on the leaders for the organization, or all issues before the convention and the delegates of the convention.
As it is outlined in the current and going forward, what we were the election would be for, there are 3 different amendments. One amendment was specifically for election of officers, and that would be a separate one for the election of area representatives. That election would be for only like 3 of the 6 areas come up each time for election. So at this upcoming one, that will be in person for 3. It will be the next 3. So that would be a next amendment that would be proposed would be for the election of the area representative. And then the third one would be an amendment for voting on the Constitution and for changes of the Constitution. So there will be 3 separate amendments proposed, and they're all involved in voting allowed by everyone.
Don Ostrom?
Do I have this wrong? These amendments will be voted on at the convention. They won't be voted on by the entire unit. That's not part of the Constitution.
No, I didn't say, no, I said at this convention, you mean proposed for future conventions?
No, these proposed amendments will be voted on at this coming convention in October by the delegates who are there.
That's correct.
They will not be voted on by the entire 40,000 members of IRTA.
Not this year, but if this proposal, then it'd be 2 years from now. Yes. So that's 2025. Nathan, do you see any others?
No, Roger, I think that about wraps it up.
Okay, I will turn it back over to you or whoever, Bill, or whoever's in charge next.
We'll go to Dave Davison for our closing remarks.
Okay, folks. Of course, it sounds like this is going to conclude the formal meeting. I want to thank everybody for participating. I guess I don't have to encourage you to drive safely on the way home. We remember, though, that the discussions will continue in the breakout rooms, and these rooms, I'll remind you again, is room 2 is a social chat room. Room 3, if you have questions, further questions, discuss with Roger, it'd be room 3 about the Constitution. And room 4, you can meet with Larry, Gary, and Nancy regarding any AMBA questions you have. Thanks for attending, everyone. Been a great job. You guys did a great job. Thanks a lot.